Welcome to Jason's Jewels. I am your host, Jason Alexander. And today we're going to touch on a couple of topics that have been on my mind lately. And one of them is going to be talking about the NBA media and how they are sabotaging the NBA, whether they know it or not. Another one is going to be college basketball. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a college basketball casual. I am officially a college basketball casual. I used to be a college basketball head, college basketball lifer. But as time has gone on, I've become more and more of a casual as I just don't watch the college game the way I used to. And a lot of that has to do with the product. But that's neither here nor there. We'll get to that later on. And another thing I'm going to talk about before we get out of here today is the erasure of history in sports. Because, well, to be honest, a lot of people are trying to erase history in sports. And I don't understand why. My generation, when we came through, we respected what the previous generations did. I don't feel like that's going on any longer. And we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. But first, let's jump into the NBA media and how they are sabotaging the game today. Now, one thing that is noticeable when you watch the NBA media and when you pay attention to the NBA media is they have a disdain for today's players. And I really don't understand why. Now, I am not uh I'm not a LeBron James fan, so to say. I like LeBron James. I enjoy watching LeBron James play. I think LeBron James is one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen. And I also believe he's one of the best basketball players I've ever seen. Now, to qualify this statement, I do not think he's better than Michael Jordan. I do not think he is better than Kobe Bryant. And it's debatable that there's a couple other players that he may or may not be better than. But that's just where I stand. And that's just where I sit. And I know folks are going to sit there and say, well, he don't think LeBron's the greatest. He's a hater. That ain't the truth. You're not a hater just because you don't think somebody is the best player in the sport. But to get to the point that I'm trying to make, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of the old players who have this same respect for LeBron James that I feel like I have. Because again, I don't think he's the greatest player ever, but he's definitely one of the best players I've ever seen play the game. He's created many, many memorable moments that people will never forget. I mean, this man has scored 50,000 points combined, playoffs and regular season. So I'm not going to sit there and act like LeBron hasn't done things that no one has ever done before. He has. And why that doesn't get, I should say the respect and admiration that it deserves is, I feel like a lot of that has to do with hate and jealousy from the players that cover the game in today's age. Now, let me qualify this. There are absolutely players who will glaze LeBron and say that he's the greatest player to ever play the game. And that's fine. To me, it's debatable. And if you have that debate, and if you believe LeBron is the greatest player ever, I'm not even going to debate you. I don't feel like it's something worth debating. That's your opinion. That's your perspective. I don't agree. You're not going to change my mind. I'm not going to change yours. So we're not going to have that conversation. But to get back to the point, I don't feel like, I feel like that there is a lack of respect for the superstars of today's games from the former players. And I'm not sure if it's because they are stuck on Michael Jordan being the greatest ever and LeBron can never pass that, or for any other reason. You know, it could be because they hate the way the game is played nowadays. It could be because they hate the mentality of the players that play the game today. It could be because they hate the money that these guys are making nowadays. And if that's the case, I understand. I get it. I mean, I'm a Kobe Bryant guy. So I remember when Kobe Bryant was making $24 million a year and folks were like, he's ruining the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, $24 million a year means you're a 3-and-D player and that you might play 30 minutes a game, maybe not even 30 minutes a game. But the point I'm making is the money in the game now is insane compared to how it used to be. Because back then, when Kobe was making $24 million a year, it was a problem. Now, it's not so much a problem. Folks are just astonished at the money that folks are making. And I can understand the money being an issue for people with the NBA. I can understand that, why they don't want to watch the NBA or why they have a bad taste in their mouth when it comes to the NBA. But at the same time, when we're talking about the money, it's the market. And whatever the market dictates is what it's going to be. So if money is the reason that you don't like today's NBA game, I don't know. I just think it's kind of silly. But I could see somebody like Charles Barkley being upset at the money that somebody like let's say somebody like Tobias Harris. You know, Charles Barkley was 10 times the player that Tobias Harris is ever going to be. But Tobias Harris is going to make 10 times the money that Charles Barkley's ever going to make. I call that an issue of timing, you know? Charles Barkley came up when Michael Jordan was the greatest player to ever play the game. And Charles simply couldn't beat Michael Jordan. It's another bad timing issue. You know, if Charles Barkley had came along in the 2000s, he probably would have got a title or two, and he would be making more money than he's ever made before in his life. And that's not to say that Charles Barkley ain't got no money, because we all know Charles Barkley got that money. He got that TNT money. So he really can't, I don't know, he really can't complain about money because he's making a lot of money to sit up there and hate when he don't even watch the games, because that's what he does. He sits up there and hates. But anyway, feel like I'm getting off topic here. Feel like I'm starting to ramble a little bit, and I don't want to ramble. So let's stay on Charles Barkley, and let's talk about Charles Barkley and even Stephen A. Smith to an extent, because both of these guys are huge mouthpieces for the NBA, and neither one of them know what they're talking about. And it's a shame because they're much closer to the game than I'll ever be. And at the same time, the things that they miss from the game are things they shouldn't be missing from the game. They should be watching all the games. I don't watch all the games, but I watch a lot of NBA. And I watch enough NBA to know that these guys don't know what they're talking about. And that's a disappointing thing because they're making a lot of money to do a job that they're not good at. Now, when I'm not good at my job, I get fired. When they're not good at their job, they get more money. So help me make that make sense. Now, these guys that are getting paid to help promote the NBA do a piss poor job of promoting the NBA. Stephen A. Smith, noted Knicks fan. All he does is cry and whine about the Knicks, cries and whine about LeBron James running up and punking him in front of everybody, which had to be done and should have been done, and I'm glad was done. But the point I'm trying to make is that these guys do not pay attention to the product that they are being paid to promote. Now, why do I say that? Because they continually say things that don't make any sense. You know, I could sit back and point out example of things that they said wrong. Hell, just last week, Shaquille O'Neal didn't even know that Chauncey Billups wasn't coaching the Detroit Pistons. Now, explain this to me. Shaquille O'Neal's on TV 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week talking basketball, but he doesn't know that Chauncey Billups is coaching the Portland Trail Blazers and not the Detroit Pistons. And this is Shaquille O'Neal, same man, said that the Detroit Pistons, who were the worst team in the NBA last year, I think they won 14, 13, 12 games, something like that. This year, they've turned it around and are a playoff team. And this man has got the gall and the balls to sit there and say that their story is not impressive. What the fuck are you talking about, Shaq? And then we got Shaquille O'Neal talking about Zion Williamson. This is all in the last week, mind you. Zion Williamson scores 22 points, has 11 rebounds, 10 assists. Triple-double in a New Orleans Pelicans victory against the playoff-bound Los Angeles Clippers. And Shaquille O'Neal said, I'm not impressed. They only scored 22 points. Now, since when is getting a triple-double, scoring 20 points in a triple-double, and guiding your team that is a lottery-bound team, to a victory over a playoff-bound team, not impressive? How is that not impressive? Especially when you're talking about Zion Williamson, a guy who stays injured, has all kinds of injury concerns and health issues. I mean, if we're going to be real, this man is following the Joel Embiid track of where he's not playing a whole lot, but when he does play, the man dominates. So don't tell me that what he did wasn't impressive, because we don't get to watch him all that often because for whatever reason, that man don't play a whole lot. And we don't know that reason. We don't know all the reasons. I'm not going to sit here and try to body shame that man or act like that man is just some big fat blob that can't stop eating, because I know that's not the case. And if it is the case, then the New Orleans Pelicans need to be blamed for paying that man all that money and not having any accountability on that man to make sure he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. Now, anyone who's been paying attention knows that things are trending in the right direction for the Pelicans, but Zion still has ways to go to prove that he's going to be the man that we all expect him to be. And regardless of all that, his triple-double last week was still very impressive. So again, I'm talking about the NBA media right here. Shaquille O'Neal don't know what he's talking about. But this man is getting paid millions and millions of dollars to talk basketball. Make it make sense, y'all. Make it make sense. You know, Stephen A. Smith and Charles Barkley talking basketball is like Fox News talking about stolen elections. Eventually, they will owe someone some money for all the bullshit that they're spilling. Shaquille O'Neal and Kendrick Perkins talking basketball is like Charlemagne the God trying to talk with me about politics. Just because they're close to the subject doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. At some point, we have to stop listening to these guys. At some point, we have to take back our game from the NBA media. And I don't know how we're going to do it. Maybe this is a start, maybe it ain't. But fact remains is these guys don't love the game like they claim to. They love the paychecks they get to cover the game. And that's really about it. And all that stuff just pisses me off because the game deserves better. Period. Now, on to the next topic. We are going to move into college basketball now. And before before I begin my, I guess, rant, I should call it, let me say I am officially a college basketball casual. Now, I grew up watching college basketball when college basketball was different than what it is now. We didn't have the NIL, we didn't have the transfer portal, we didn't even have the one and done rule. So guys either went straight to the NBA right out of high school or they went to college. And when they went to college, they would play for 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, depending on how good they were, how good their team was, and what kind of options that they had. When I was a kid, college basketball was just as enjoyable as the NBA. You know, I was able as a kid, I was able to watch UNLV, the Running Rebels, when they had Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, Anderson Hunt, Greg Anthony. They were, to me, the best team I've seen play in college basketball. And that team had me captivated. Now, that team lost to Duke in 1991 in the Final Four. And at that point, I kind of started liking Duke then. And then when Duke beat UK in 1992, that's when I fully jumped on the Duke bandwagon. So I've been on the Duke bandwagon since 1992. It's the year 2025. So I've been a Duke fan for 33 years now at this point. So this past week, Cooper Flagg got injured. And when he got injured, the narrative switched from where did it switch from? The narrative became, well, he should sit out and wait till the NCAA tournament. And when the NCAA tournament comes, he should play then. Just get healthy for the NCAA tournament. Now, when I was a kid, the conference tournaments meant quite a bit. I enjoyed the conference tournaments. I look forward to the conference tournaments. If anything, the conference tournaments were a lot like high school basketball, wherein it was still kind of pure. You had to play to see who the best team in your conference was. And you had a tournament at the end of the year to see who the best team in the conference was. And I enjoyed that. But I ain't gonna lie. This past week is the most pissed off I have been when it comes to college basketball. And it had nothing to do with the NIL, had nothing to do with the transfer portal. I know folks love crying and complaining about that. I love all that. That part don't bother me. What bothered me is that now we no longer care about the conference tournament. People didn't care if Duke won. I said people. Duke fans didn't care if Duke won the conference championship. All they cared about was making sure Cooper Flagg gets healthy for the NCAA tournament. And that's fine. I mean, I get that mindset. if you want to give your best shot in the NCAA tournament, then I guess the mindset is sure, go ahead and get healthy for the tournament and whatnot and see what happens. Here's my beef with that. I've seen healthy Duke teams that were good enough to win the championship not win the championship. I've seen healthy Duke teams good enough to win the championship, talented enough to win the championship, more talent than anybody else in college basketball, and them boys lost in round 1 or round 2. So, if anything, nothing in the NCAA tournament is a given, ever. So this whole mindset that he should rest in the conference tournament to get ready for the NCAA tournament, to me, when we don't know what's going to happen in the NCAA tournament with or without him, I don't know. It's just kind of silly to me. You know, at the end of the day, go get the conference tournament. Go get that title. Go get something. Why are we acting like the conference tournaments don't mean anything? I mean, if they don't mean anything, let's recognize them for what they are, a money grab. That's it. I mean, if we're to the point now to where Cooper Flagg is healthy enough to play in the conference tournament, which I don't know and have no clue about. I really don't know if that man is healthy enough to play in the conference tournament or if he was healthy enough. All I know is they sat him out, and they didn't say why, and they didn't say what. All I know is the speculation said, let that man rest. We don't care about the conference tournament. I care about the conference tournament. I want the ACC title. I don't care if the ACC is dog water this year. I want the conference tournament. I want that championship. Because at the end of the day, we don't know if they're going to get an NCAA championship, but you can still hang up that conference championship banner. You can still hold on to that conference championship title. That's what they do. I've been one of the ones to say that John Shire is not that good of a coach, and I call him Calipari 2.0. Now, what would help John Shire out more than anything else? A conference title championship. You want to prove to me he's a good coach? Go win it. Now, granted, they went and did that without Cooper Flagg. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. But I didn't watch that game. Why? Why would I watch that game? If the national championship team is going to have Cooper Flagg playing on it, I want to watch Cooper Flagg. I don't want to watch a team without Cooper Flagg on there, especially in the conference championship title game. I don't want to watch a mediocre Duke team playing there. And I know folks are going to put up them numbers like they've been putting up about how the offensive rating and the defensive rating is better than with Cooper Flagg on the floor. Whatever. Y'all trying to tell me that this Duke team is better without Cooper Flagg? If you think that Duke is better without Cooper Flagg, you get the look. Because that's just stupid. Let me calm down, though. Let me calm down. Because things might be getting lost in translation here because of my energy. But at the end of the day, I was disappointed that a lot of people poo-pooed the conference championship, the ACC conference championship game, because I wanted to see the real Duke team play. You know, it's going to look silly. It's going to look real silly if Cooper Flagg is too hurt to play in the NCAA tournament. And that is a possibility because we don't know what's going on with Cooper Flagg's ankle. So, excuse me, sorry about that. So we don't know how healthy this man is. Folks say, well, he shouldn't have played because he'll have a better chance to get to 100%. Anybody who has sprained an ankle as bad as it looks like he sprained his ankle knows that ankle ain't going to be right for months. It's not going to be right for months. So I don't want to sit there and act like he's not tough. I don't want to sit and act like he ain't got that dog in him because he looks like he's got that dog in him. But I know me and my competitive nature, y'all would have had to drag me off that court. I'd have played in that game. I'd have played last night for Duke. Period. Because to me, winning is most important. And yes, they won. And yes, they won without Cooper Flagg. Again, hey, congratulations. I'm happy for you. I'm happy that they won. But this does not make me feel better about what they're going to have up against them going forward in the next couple of weeks. if they get out of round 1 and 2, because crazy things have happened. Yes, there probably will be the number 1 overall seed, which I hope. Yes, they will be playing probably the worst 16 seed in the tournament. Yes, they can probably get away with not playing Cooper Flagg again, but they need to be careful, and everybody needs to be careful. This mindset of resting in college basketball, especially in a one and done scenario, is dangerous. And maybe I'm talking all for nothing. Maybe all this pent up emotion that I have surrounding this situation is all for naught. Maybe he comes back, is fine, and then they go on and win the championship. But I'm telling you right now, anything can happen. So just be careful. That's all I got. Just be careful. Now, the last topic I want to touch on is kind of a segue from college basketball to where we are now. But one of the things that I am noticing in sports discussions these days is that people are trying to erase history. And I say it's a segue from college basketball because, like I said, the conference tournaments used to mean something, and now they clearly don't. Are they exciting? Oh yeah, absolutely. College basketball is by far more exciting than the NBA. And I say that loving the NBA way more than college basketball because I just like the product of the NBA a lot better. But college basketball, without a doubt, is way more exciting than the NBA. You know, the emotions that people felt this past week from the conference tournaments cannot be duplicated in the NBA whatsoever. But at the same time, we're still moving to a point to where the conference tournaments really don't mean anything anymore. And they're turning into college football bowl games. And to me, it's just part of history and tradition being erased. And as an old head, I don't know how I feel about that because I know what I saw, I know what I watched, I know what I felt, I know what I enjoyed. And those things aren't coming back. And I'm not going to say I've had a hard time dealing with that. I'm just recognizing that things are different. And as a result, I'm going to have to change with those things. And I'm changing slowly but surely. And I understand that people need to do the same. And I understand people are going through the same things. But I don't understand the need and desire to erase what we watched. And a lot of that, I feel like a lot of the erasure that is trying to take place in sports is similar to what's going on in society right now. You know, in society, we're watching history become whitewashed in front of our very own eyes. And in sports, folks are doing the same thing. You know, I was fortunate enough to watch Magic Johnson and Larry Bird play NBA basketball. I'm not old enough to watch them in college, but I watched them revolutionize not just the game of basketball, but the NBA. You know, they resurrected the NBA. The NBA was a dying league until Magic Johnson and Larry Bird came along and resurrected it. And as a child, I was captivated by this resurrection. You know, there was a lot going on with Magic and Larry. You know, Larry was basketball Jesus. And, you know, he's straight up white dude out here balling in a black space because at this point, basketball had become a black space. But Larry Bird exceeded all barriers and was out here dominating amongst the black men in the NBA. And it was a sight to see. And whether folks want to admit it or not, there will always be the feelings surrounding Larry Bird because of his skin tone. He was a great white hope and he lived up to that expectation. You know, I couldn't stand Larry Bird, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for Larry Bird. I couldn't stand Michael Jordan, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for Michael Jordan. I know what I watched. So when I participate in these sports discussions these days and folks talk about how Michael Jordan is quote DeMar DeRozan of these days and how SGA, Shai Gilgis Alexander, or Shea, my bad, Shea Gilgis Alexander is similar to Kobe Bryant, I just laugh because, well, I laugh. I say I laugh, but deep down inside, it kind of pisses me off because them dudes were one of one, just like LeBron is one of one. And people like Shy and even Joel Embiid, even Nikola Jokic to a point, as good as they still have things to prove to establish their greatness at the same level as some of the other greats. You know, we watched some of the greats of the past win multiple championships. And folks will say, well, ring culture is ruining sports. How is being the best version of yourself and elevating your teammates to be the best versions of themselves a bad thing? How is that something that shouldn't be celebrated? You know, people will sit and say that LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan because LeBron James has better stats. I'm not going to debate that. If that's what you believe, that's what you believe. But if you believe that LeBron is better than Michael Jordan because he has better stats, then along that same vein, you need to be saying that Emmitt Smith is the best running back to ever play in the NFL because Emmitt Smith has better stats than any other running back in the NFL. If you're going to say LeBron James is the best player to ever play basketball because of his stats, you need to say Jerry Rice is the best wide receiver to ever play football because Jerry Rice has better stats than everybody else in football, period. So if you're going to sit there and say all these things and look at the stats and not the rings, those are things you need to be consistent amongst all sports. You can't just pick and choose when that's going to help your agenda, so to say. But at the end of the day, I don't understand why people are trying to, especially people who were born well after Michael Jordan finished playing basketball. I don't understand why these people are trying to tell me that LeBron is better than Michael Jordan or that Michael Jordan wasn't as good as what he was because of who he played against or because basketball was different then. It don't work like that. You know, every sport has a different era. And in amongst those eras, you have your best players of those eras. And I'm not going to sit and say one player from one era is better than another, even though that's what I'm doing. But I'm not going to sit there and, I guess, write it in pen, so to say. You know, I'm trying to think of a way to say that I'm going to make it a permanent statement. But what I'm trying to say is I know what I watched when I watched Michael Jordan. I know what I watched when I watched Kobe Bryant. I know what I watched when I watched LeBron James. And one thing that stands out to me is the moments or the memories that these people created. You know, LeBron has shit. LeBron has done things that I'll never see anybody ever do before. Or let me say that again. LeBron has done things I've never seen anybody do. Just like Kobe Bryant, just like Michael Jordan, just like Magic Johnson, just like Larry Bird, just like Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal, all of them. These dudes are the elite of the elite. So if you're going to compare these dudes to one another, the only thing that you can go by is how many rings did they get? And I know folks hate the ring culture. I mentioned it earlier. I mentioned it again. I know there's folks that don't like the ring culture and hate the way that the rings affect conversations that we have about players. But at the end of the day, that's all you're going to have to compare them with. Because again, I'm not the kind of guy that says because you got the best stats, you are the best player. For forever, Karl Malone was number 2 on the list of scoring all time. But nobody's ever said Karl Malone is the best power forward ever. Nobody's ever said that Karl Malone is the second best basketball player ever. Nobody ever talked about Karl Malone as a basketball player in that vein. So why we choose to talk about one in that vein and not the other is confusing to me. At the same time, we need to make sure that we're preserving history and not erasing history. And what I mean by that is folks trying to act like Michael Jordan played against plumbers. That's not true. When I watched basketball back then, them dudes were good. In fact, I had to watch Michael Jordan he had to overcome Larry Bird. He had to overcome the Detroit Bad Boys and Isaiah Thomas and them. And then he had to overcome Magic Johnson. So we watched Michael Jordan work his way up the ladder of success to become the best player to ever play the game, in my opinion. And again, I couldn't stand Michael Jordan, but I know what I watched. I know what I saw. And I haven't seen anybody duplicate that. Not even my favorite player of all time, Kobe. Even Kobe. Even Kobe was not better than Michael Jordan, as good as Kobe was. And I will go to my grave saying that. And I love Kobe more than anybody. But I'm just being objective. I'm being real. I'm being honest from my perspective on things. And I don't expect other people to have this same perspective, but we're gonna talk about it because people are trying to tell me that they're trying to erase history. They're trying to act like Kobe wasn't a integral piece to the Lakers three-peat from 99 2002. Folks trying to act like Kobe wasn't part of that when he was. He was a huge part of that. Folks trying to act like Michael Jordan played against plumbers. When I watched this man go up against Isaiah Thomas, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Sean Kemp, all of them. Hakeem Olajuwon, granted, he sat out them 2 years when Olajuwon won, but Olajuwon was still playing when Michael Jordan was there, and Olajuwon only won titles when Michael Jordan wasn't playing. So, again, Patrick Ewing, Reggie Miller, these are all elite basketball players. Why are we trying to act like these guys weren't any good? I don't get it. And I never will understand it. But maybe it's not for me to understand. Maybe it's just the way things are. Maybe folks just want to forget everything that happened in the past and move on and work on a new future. All of that, the only thing I can say to that is if it happened to Michael Jordan, it's going to happen to LeBron James. So, all you folks out there that are trying to say old heads don't know shit, old heads are going to old head, all that other stuff. One day you're going to be an old head. And one day folks are going to be talking about how Victor Wembanyama is the greatest basketball player to ever play the game because he's a 7-footer that's got skills that nobody's ever seen before. And he scored more points than LeBron James. So therefore, Victor Wembanyama is the greatest player in the game, even though that man got 2-3 titles by the time it's all said and done. As a matter of fact, I hope that's what happened. I hope Victor Wembanyama scores 1 point more than LeBron James and has one ring less than LeBron James. And then I want to hear what y'all got to say about who is better than who. That's what I want. I'll probably be dead, so I won't be able to participate in that conversation. But I would love to hear it because I'm going to want to know what folks are going to twist and turn up and have to say about it when the tide has turned and it's your turn to defend LeBron's legacy against history. Then we'll see what's what. Now, again, this is my first video. I will be bringing more videos out to y'all in the future. Plan to have a couple of surprises in store for y'all. Trying to elevate this game, elevate this podcast game, try to elevate this video game. Excuse me. Just trying to move on to bigger and better things in life right now. That's all we're trying to do. So I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. This is Jason's Jewels, the video version. Expect more of these in the future. I'll be seeing y'all real soon. Peace.